All right. We made it. Welcome, everyone, to the inaugural week of MyFunded TV. This is the show that's created not only to entertain and engage, but ultimately to make you a better trader. We'll be talking charts, we'll be talking ideas, and most importantly, we will be talking chat. We read every single comment that goes into the YouTube, into the X, into the Instagram, because we want this show to be for you. Whatever it takes to make you a better trader, help you achieve success, whatever it is you're aspiring to do, that is what we are here for. That's why we created MyFunded TV, the next step for MyFunded Futures. My name is Luke. I am merely your host. That means that I am the voice of you, the chat. So if you have symbols that you're looking at, questions for our traders, whatever it may be, I am here for it. I will help you out. I would like to welcome onto the stage our two expert traders, Mr. Forrest Knight and Miss Bull Barbie. Welcome both.
Good morning.
What's up? Good morning.
Big day today.
It sure is.
It's a big day, Luke.
We're live. We're ready to roll. We're ready to talk trading. I'm going to ask you each to do an introduction to yourselves and introduce yourselves to the MyFunded Futures community. Barbie, I'm going to send it over to you first. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, sure. I originally started investing when I was in high school, but I started day trading in 2001, kind of in that post-COVID period when a lot of people were looking at the markets. I was really burnt out on real estate, and I just wanted something better and more for my family. So a few years later, I have managed to get to a point where I'm actually making a living and supporting my family doing this, which is absolutely amazing. I day and swing trade both futures and options. And I love getting to share what I'm doing and get other ideas from the trading community. So that's what I'm here for.
All right. And I'm reading the chat comments as they come in. It looks like we've got a couple people that are looking for discount codes.
Always.
Well, I'll ask. I mean, should we do a discount today? It's a question to the chat. Should we do it? In order to receive a discount, if we were to do one, you'd need to be subscribed. I'll give you that little hint. But again, let us know if we should do one, and maybe we'll have a surprise. Forrest, over to you for an intro.
Intro, who am I? So my name's Forrest, channel Trading with Forrest. Been trading for about 9 or 10 years, 8 or 9, 10. I can never remember. I feel like I've been saying 8 for too many years now. But yeah, started my career at a retail brokerage, really as a software engineer, but was in a rotational program. Got the Series 7 and 66, which isn't relevant to trading, but it was kind of like my first entry into finance. Started swing trading then, and then throughout the years, I've done a ton of stuff, but the trading interval kept getting shorter and shorter. So it went from months to weeks until eventually I became a day trader. But yeah, today I trade futures, I trade equity options, I trade index options, all kinds of things. But really my primary focus is on index futures, and index options are 99% of what I look for and trade, whether it's a swing trade or a day trade. So that's me.
All right. Thank you both. And I'm seeing some comments from the chat. It looks like free resets are popular. I'll tease it. We might have some free resets in a little bit here. You're going to have to stay tuned. And again, you're going to have to be subscribed if you want to get them. While we're welcoming our community to the show and just getting started, I'm going to ask a first question to the chat. Where are you all from? I'm coming to you from Detroit, Michigan. We've got a lot of our leadership team coming to us from Texas. You got Forrest and Barbie spread out throughout the country. Where is everyone from? Let us know in the chat.
And who else is from Texas?
Where my Miamians at?
Yeah. See, the thing is that your cowboy hats sort of give it away, Barbie.
Do they? Okay.
I think all the sunlight around you, this could be fake lighting. You just have a beautiful setup for us, but it looks like you're in a very sunny place.
Possibly in the southeast tip of the United States called Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good place.
That's where I am.
I need to go visit Forrest one of these days.
Come check it out. We've got this beautiful, so I'm also I run a production company here. So I'm on stage right now. This is a live chart behind me. by the way. But yeah, I'd love to interview you, talk about trading. So come hang out and we can talk trading.
Awesome. All right. So we've got a slew of people from all over the country. The other question I'll ask the chat is, what are you trading? What are you looking at? What are the symbols? Give them to us. And I'll preview. We're obviously going to talk setups. We're going to talk ideas. We're going to talk charts. We may have a giveaway around the corner. We may have the CEO of MyFundedFutures around the corner. But before we get into that, let's talk about that gap lower. Let's talk about ES. Let's talk about NQ. Barbie, I guess I'll send it over to you to start. If you wouldn't mind pulling up your chart and just showing us what you're looking at.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and show you kind of what I was looking at just initially in the morning. And I always start with the daily, at least. So obviously we had a gap down. We were talking about these kind of dojis that we'd had the last couple of days, and would we end up coming up with another doji yesterday? Well, we did. And the warning that we've always had is kind of this, there's tariff news going around, and we always have to worry about how that's going to affect all these different companies. And sure enough, we got some news about that overnight. So we're gapping down a little bit. So I'll show you kind of what we're looking at. And this kind of ties into a little bit what I was looking at yesterday. So yesterday we had a gap as well, or we were watching this gap from earlier. This gap was actually from the very beginning of the week, and we had filled that gap, but I was really watching that gap level to kind of be a zone to watch. And that really came into play overnight. So when we gapped down below that previous gap level. So now we have this new gap, and we're trading below that old gap. So this is going to be a really, really, really important zone. Both this new gap from around the 54.25 area down to 54.03. That's a really important gap to watch to see if we fill that today. But what I noticed was this old gap from earlier in the week, when we gapped down and kept moving lower, while we made this wick higher, we ended up really having the bulk of the trading down below this. And I know that Forrest watches volume profile, so he'll probably have some things that he's been watching down in that area as well. But I'm really watching this level before we even get up to this current overnight gap, where we have this gap from Sunday that's becoming a really strong level right now. So kind of the levels that I'm watching, with the bullish scenario, we would need to clear this gap, because that was in my plan yesterday to be bullish. I really wanted to show that value was going to be higher than this gap. And right now we have this wick from overnight that's kind of up in my weekly magnet level, which was up around 54.24. So that is the level that we hit overnight. That overnight high is the level that I'm watching to get bullish at all. If we do get bullish, we have some targets up here, probably initially this area around 54.50, and then up here into the 54.86. But right now we're kind of looking at more of a downside scenario. So what I'm really looking for, this is probably going to be choppy up here inside of these gap areas. So I might be able to have a trade down here where if we start bouncing one of these levels, I can target that gap. But for now, I'm really looking to see if these levels, since we could not get a hold above that Sunday gap level, I'm really looking to see if we're going to end up coming back down here and targeting this pre-market low around 53.40, and then even down lower if we start breaking that into 53.31, and the century figure down there around 5300. So a little bit different scenario. We could definitely get some more action than we had yesterday. And I guess we'll talk about why in a little bit when we go to chart of the day, about why we're having this gap. But that's what I'm looking at on ES this morning.
All right. Forrest, your turn. ES or NQ? Take your pick.
I'll talk about NQ. So the macro is very, very similar. Obviously, they're both indices. NQ a little more tech centric. I want to start on the weekly here. So this is something that I was looking at really on Sunday. So again, thinking of the volume profile, trading the volume profile edges, right? The VPE, as I like to call it. There are these two major nodes. So we have this weekly high volume green that formed. There is this node lower that we bounced off of. I have it marked out in a blue line. And then there's this node up here where we top wicked off of on the weekly. And you can see that we're rejecting it. So I've kind of had this thesis kind of baking in my mind around us rejecting this anyways. And then really what area, what pocket down here are we going to land in, right? This could be, so in my system, a high volume green doji is technically a reversal signal, but this is on a weekly time frame, right? This candle could, for example, come all the way down here, right? So we could come down here and then continue higher on a weekly basis. So this could take weeks to play out. Nonetheless, I expect a lot of this open candle body to get retested. So we have a low value area pocket down here. We also have a low value area pocket down here. So this is on the weekly. So what does that look like with this gap down? Well, we have a shortened week, right? So the market needs to make this move inside of the week. We also closed yesterday with some pretty bearish kind of close, right? So if we look at, we'll go to an even lower time frame, like the 1 hour, make sure our session volume profile is loaded. For anybody who's not familiar with the session VP or the volume profile in general, it just shows us volume at prices, right? So we get this nice horizontal bar chart or a histogram. And we closed, if you look at yesterday's close, below the point of control, right? So as the daily narrative, went through, we came up a little bit, and then you can see here there was this rejection away from the average prices. Typically, right, if the opposite kind of thesis, for an example, like if we pinned right at the point of control, then you wouldn't necessarily expect this bearish action. We also had kind of this double top maneuver, retesting the highs on the 4 hour. You can see that there's a downward kind of trending trend line, so we have lower highs. So there are a lot of things from the weekly to the 4 hour to the way that we close with the volume profile pointing us to kind of have this energetic move downwards overnight, as well as the fact that we did have, retail sales 8:30 a.m. this morning. So a lot of confluences there. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So right now I do have a kind of, downward looking, angle to this. With tomorrow being this week's Friday, if that's not confusing. Today is Wednesday. It's a short week. Tomorrow's the last day of the week. As Barbie mentioned, I do expect us to have some more action today. And we're already seeing it, right, with the gap down.
All right, Forrest, I'm putting something in the chat here that says I need to get 100 likes on the stream in order to do a giveaway. So there's one. 2, make it clear for us. We got JPOW speaking at 1:30. Just how does that impact how you're approaching this day? Whether you may or may not take a trade, does it matter? If the chart lines up, will you take the trade regardless, etc.? So JPOW in particular, you definitely want to be cautious. I would frame it like this. If right before any of these economic events, right, we're at an edge in my system, right? So without belaboring the point, let's just imagine that the edge that I care about today is this low, right? It doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. Let's just imagine where I would take a trade anyways. Then yeah, I might have a very tight risk long at, what I suspect is the low of the day. Now, what I'm not going to do is, let's imagine that JPOW's talking right now. We're in the middle of the price action, like literally smack dab in the middle. I'm not taking any trades right here, right? I'm not getting into a trade right here. It's just crazy because my risk, if I'm wrong, is, basically the full range of the day. So just not wise. Very likely what I'll do is probably nothing. I don't really look at, again, news events. I just look at them as fast forwarding the market to what it was going to do anyways. So unless there's something there, I don't really like to gamble on events. And like I said, 2 days ago, I rarely pay attention to the economic calendar, even or even what it is. I just look at the timings, and I'm just wary of the timings. But whether it's JPOW or CPI or anything like that is pretty irrelevant to me. I just look at the timings and ask myself the question, okay, where is the market going to run to due to this catalyst? And that's about it. All right, I appreciate it. Barbie, anything to add there? I don't know if you're thinking is similar, you approach it a little bit differently.
Well, with with the data, anytime we have some sort of catalyst, I kind of, I have my own system, but it really kind of has the same similarities in that I'm always waiting for the market to come to my levels. So whatever major level support or resistance I'm looking for, I'm waiting for the market to come to that. And a lot of the times the news events can be that catalyst that gets the market there. But I'm not going to try to play the news event to get there. I'm going to wait and see what develops there, just like anything else, any other catalyst that would have gotten price to the level that I'm watching. So I'm going to be more cautious when it's a news event. I want to make sure that the crazy volatility has settled so that my risk is not as wide as it needs to be. Because then I can, if you kind of wait for the dust to settle, you'll kind of see that you'll get maybe a different entry that's cleaner and has less risk on it than if you're trying to trade off of a massive move with a big news catalyst or something like that. And I did. So what I have up on my chart right now is going to talk a little bit more about this is good on catalyst. So the catalyst overnight, we've got trade wars going on still, obviously. So the big one was the Chinese tariffs with up to, I guess, 224%. And of course, that's a little bit complicated because that's on the cost and not the retail and all of that stuff. And so we get into these really complicated formulas with some of these companies. But Nvidia is definitely one that was hit really hard by the tariff news. So that's what we're seeing in the chart. You can see the volume is always what helps me see where the daytime trading was. So this was yesterday's trading. Everything looks kind of normal. I mean, Nvidia is always up and down a lot. It's very volatile, almost meme stock these days. And then you can really tell in this blue shading overnight in the extended hours where that news drop was. It was right there. And so Nvidia will move the market. It's one of the most heavily weighted in the NASDAQ, and it's also heavily weighted in the S&P 500. So it moves the indexes and it moves the market. And if you'll see the VIX is a little bit elevated this morning, that's really on Nvidia here. Like this is the Nvidia move that's causing that volatility, which is based on the tariffs. So there's a lot going on. But and we're really sustaining that move. So in pre-market, we kind of got a little bit of a retracement back up into that move, but it's holding way down back here at the lows now. So Nvidia is not looking very hot this morning, and that is kind of the market's catalyst. I did kind of pull up. There's a lot of news on this, so you can kind of find it anywhere, but this is kind of the major news catalyst that we have this morning. So it's affecting a lot of the chips, not just Nvidia, but of course we're going to see it the most strong on Nvidia since it's the hardest hit. And that'll help kind of drag all of the tech market in general down. So I hope that kind of gives some insight. I will be watching the ES and the NASDAQ this morning, and I'm going to kind of let the dust settle here at open when we get into open. But yeah, we're definitely in a downtrend on both the indexes this morning based on everything that's developed overnight. So I'm not looking for a bullish setup off the get-go here for sure. I need to get some confirmation that we're going to start getting back over some of these levels in order to do that.
Awesome. All right, folks. I'm going to take a break for something special. I'm going to preview that we will have the MyFundedFutures CEO, Mr. Matthew Leach, on with us shortly, a little bit after the open. So there's one for everybody asking. Two, I did see in the chat 2 or 3 people asking for free resets. The time has come. We've got 50 free resets on its way to you. Code is on the screen. MyFundedTV 100. First 50 folks, free resets. MyFundedTV 100. Put that in. Go get them. And I'll say this too while we're leaving this code up on the screen. If we can get 40 more shares on the stream, I'm authorized to do another giveaway. Okay, we have between 9 and 10:30 that this stream is running. We have our first giveaway is there. MyFundedTV 100. Go get it. If we can get 40 more shares on the stream between now and 10 o'clock, I am, in fact, authorized to do another giveaway. to give a little bit more preview of what we're going to be talking. We're going to talk a little bit more about Nvidia in a minute here. We got Barbie's take. We're going to ask Forrest how he thinks about stocks and some of these bigger stock movements, and as it relates to the futures market, like NQ. We have our open. We will watch the open closely and figure out what exactly is happening at the open. Does it confirm? Does it reject any bias that we had going into the day? And we're going to be doing some education. I want to throw a question out to the chat. What symbols are you looking at? Are there any trades you're looking at? Are there any levels you're looking at? Obviously, we're all looking at ES. We're all looking at NQ. But give me a little bit more specific than that, and we'll talk about it live on the show. How does that sound? Sounds great, Luke. All right. So we'll get that cooking. All right. That's our break. Again, you had your first free reset giveaway. I can do another giveaway if we can get 40 more shares on the stream sometime between now and 10 a.m. The faster you share it, the faster we're getting to another giveaway. But I'd like to welcome Forrest back up onto the stage with us. Forrest, talk to me about Nvidia a little bit. How do you think about individual stocks as it relates to the indexes? Do you keep track of them, et cetera?
Certainly. So as an index trader, an indice trader, you want to be cognizant of or aware of what is in that index, right? So there's things like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, right? The big hitters, Tesla, will move indices, and they'll often give you insight, right? It doesn't really matter what system you're using, right? You could be trading the volume profile like me, you could be using EMAs. When they hit their relative major levels, that is going to almost always coincide with, a pivot in the whatever you're trading, right? If you're trading the index. So let me resize my window here so I can actually click on what I'm clicking on. But let's use an Nvidia, for example. So we'll go to the daily chart. It's where I like to start all of my analysis. We can see in the pre-market, it's down pretty bad, okay? And we had the gap down, obviously, in ES and NQ. Makes sense. The question is, so if I'm looking at the volume profile here, we see that there's a low value pocket in here, and it is really at the edge of a pretty big delta or change in the volume profile right now, right? So there's the current price. There's low value in here. So the question I should ask myself is Nvidia going to race lower through this pocket? And if it is, then I would want to look at ES and NQ and ask myself, okay, does that make sense? Is there confluence for that to happen within today? Also have to remember kind of the size of these daily candles, right? So we don't need to use an indicator for this. It's often just called the ATR, the average trading range. I like to just measure the candles, right? How big are these candles, and does the expected move, or is the move that I'm projecting, on the day for this equity or this stock, is it within reason, right? Or am I looking for a move that's twice as big as the biggest candle on my screen right there? Obviously, again, there are indicators that will measure this for you. Candlesticks are an indicator technically. I just like to look at them. But yeah, I definitely use them. I don't necessarily. I'll tell you what I actually do, right? So I don't always open a video.
I like Forrest how you're like, well, and then you're like, you know what? I'm just cutting straight into it. This is what I actually do.
What I actually do is I look at Apple. So I look at Apple very often when I'm trading ES and NQ, and I do what I just mentioned doing on Nvidia. It has really good levels. So if you're doing like technical analysis using the volume profile or otherwise, Apple is kind of my confluence stock. I rarely take trades on Apple either, like ever. Like if I see a really good setup on Apple, I'll just take the trade on NQ. I'll just lever up or on ES or whatever it is, right? Or I'll take index options, right? SPX options, right? I really truly just use it for confluence, but I do look at it pretty often. Same with Microsoft. Microsoft as well, in my opinion, has pretty good levels. I like to look at it. Nvidia, like you said, it's kind of flavor of the week right now. There's a lot of money to be made there, for sure. I just don't trade it that often.
It's extra spicy, so it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's just, and like I've been trading options for a long time. I like to find asymmetric returns for sure. That's why you trade options. I literally just stick to SPX options most of the time. I can find my outsized returns there.
Plus, you get the good tax treatment on those. That's why I like them too.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yes, Google it, guys. You will.
We just had tax day, so I've been thinking about it. But I have an account that I run almost exclusively SPX in. So.
Yep. Indeed.
All right.
We have, what do we have? Like 3 minutes till the market opens now.
3 minutes to the open. I just dropped a poll in the YouTube chat asking what is your bias for the day. We've got about 300 votes so far. Forrest, Barbie, I'm going to tell you the results of the poll and get your take. I think it's especially interesting. When we did this yesterday, there was a very clear bullish bias from the chat, maybe like 75% bullish, 25% bearish. As we look at it today, 32% of the group is bullish, 38% of the group is bearish, and 30% selected the I have no idea option, which is okay.
Pretty mixed bag today.
I mean, crazy. It's basically a third. What do you make of that?
I think some people are really ready for the market to go back up and finish more retracement, but there's definitely some caution today. And so I think it makes sense that we have a mixed bag. That's why I have a bullish and a bearish scenario and kind of a range in the middle where there isn't much of a plan at all. It's just waiting to see what's going to happen, because it can definitely get a little crazy today, or it can chop around. But we'll probably, if we see chop, it'll probably be a wide range of chop. So there should be some excitement, especially when Powell comes on later.
Yep, absolutely. Forrest, any take? We're 2 minutes from the open. Any take on the chat basically being a third on bullish, bearish, or having no idea?
Everybody's wrong. I mean, typically, I mean, if it truly is split, yeah, I don't know what to make of that, honestly. We might just have a chop day, which would be surprising to me. If I do the classic inverse the chat maneuver. I don't know. So if it's that split, honestly, don't know what my take is. All I know is right now is that we're entering this low value area. So I really am curious. I mean, I'll tell you this, if we don't have a big move today, right? If we kind of stay inside this developed range that we have right here, I know I'm on the 4 hour, but if we kind of stay inside of here, which would be surprising to me, tomorrow is going to be something nasty. So
we've had a bunch of days inside of those big volatile days that we had last week. So that's what's going to make it exciting, is when we finally break out of that range.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be very, very interesting.
And Forrest, I'm going to ask you to share your screen. We have it up on the stream right now, but to leave it open as we approach 9:30 here. We're within 30 seconds at this point of the open, but let's take a look together and watch what's happening.
Well,
there it is. We're live.
Boom, bam.
And while we wait for the first couple candles to develop there, I'm going to preview again what we have coming for the rest of the show. In just a few minutes here, we're going to have the MyFundedFutures CEO, Mr. Matthew Leach, on the stream with us. I see a lot of folks in the chat looking for that. I need 5 more shares of the stream in order to do another free reset giveaway. Okay, so stay tuned. If you have not shared, you're part of the problem. We need just 5 more in order to do another giveaway. We're going to be talking setups as we approach 10 a.m. That's the time period that both Barbie and Forrest like to look at and like to constrain themselves to trading at that period. And we're going to do a little bit of education. We're here for you. Again, questions that you have for Forrest, for Barbie, throw them in the chat. Questions you have for me, don't throw them in because I don't know anything. I'm just here to read your questions out to them. And Forrest, I'm going to kick it over to you. Doesn't look like we got much off the open.
Not yet. So let's talk about it. So right now we have a kind of stretched out, skewed single mode distribution right here, right? So the point of control is at 18,696.75. see we're bottom wicking out the value area low. We're probably going to come back up to this point of control, would be my anticipation here. And kind of what I'm looking for, as mentioned, I want to see the 2-hour close, right? Which is going to be most likely a bottom wick, red candle. It could be a doji if this really races up, some type of green doji. And then I also want to see the 4-hour. So we can, because we're pretty close to these candles closing, like I could anticipate what these candles like to look at. Generally speaking, I like to actually see what happens, because what will happen to you as a trader if you front run these candles is in the last 3 minutes of the candle forming, a ton of volume will come in, or suddenly it'll smash or pop up or something like that. And you will, either, lose profits or even go red, right? If you get in too early. So yeah, literally just waiting. You can see it's popping up right now. I was in a short from overnight already. That's why I was glancing around my different screens. So caught that little gap down there. But yeah, just waiting, just wait mode here. If we had a bearish distribution, right? So if this node was lower, say we have these candlesticks down here, but we can see they're kind of low volume. If EU had brought significant volume at the lows of this distribution here, then we'd probably get an immediate continuation, right? So we'd start staircasing down. But because we didn't, we are going to do a rangy thing here first. So we're in wait mode, which is 99% of trading is not trading, right?
And
very excited.
And Forrest, just to catch something that you just said, so you had a trade on overnight?
I did, yeah.
Do you often leave trades on overnight?
Yes and no. So my philosophy as a trader, so I have like thousands of, I don't even know, like thousands of pages of notes in Notion. Like I guess it's a new day, so I'll say it again. I believe adamantly in journaling, to the point of almost mania. So my philosophy as a trader is if I see a good trade that I have data on, I have to take it. So I don't necessarily care to trade overnight because I like sleeping. Honestly, don't like trading overnight because I'd rather not watch trades. But if there's money to be made, then yeah, I mean, I like to wake up green. Also, like the meta, sometimes the market, I can't remember what the period was off the top of my head. Sometimes the market will consistently make overnight moves and then chop in the morning, especially. So it'll make its first wave. And if you're not going to trade that session, you basically are you end up feeling like this anxiety all day because you're expecting the other leg to come, the other shoe to drop, and it just doesn't, right, until the next overnight period. So that's just something to be aware of, is that sometimes the market goes into these periods of this overnight, that's when the move is made, and then the day is very, very tight. So it just depends. I'm here to make money. So whatever the market says you got to make money by turning left, I'll turn left. It says do a backflip, I'll try my best. Getting old, but that's what I do.
Awesome. Barbie, any comments from you off the open? I know it's early.
Watching, we're not getting a very big reaction either way, but what's catching my attention right now is the VIX is kind of dropping. So I'm wondering if we're kind of trying to get some buyers in here just real quick. But in general, like we're not getting a really good trade for some longer term, like a longer term day trade isn't really developing here for me yet. I'm just kind of watching a potential little scalp. But I'm really getting mixed signals too. But the thing that's catching my eye the most is the VIX just trying to challenge some of those shorter term lows right now around the 30 level. But we'll see. It's definitely, I think that the chat kind of nailed it with the poll, because the market's kind of having the same reaction. Do we move up? Do we go down? Do we chop? Well, we don't know yet. So at some point, this is going to shake out. We have this volume surge that always comes in at the open, and that can be a little bit confusing to figure out, just for the order flow to kind of sort out, but it will. So after this initial rush is done, we'll kind of we should be able to get some sort of more clear picture. But yeah, right now I'm really paying attention to the VIX dropping, which I don't have on my screen. I'll put it up on this one here. So this is all the indexes. And What I like to watch in the morning are the indexes kind of in agreement, especially the ES and the NASDAQ, since these two have the most similar overlap in what they're carrying. I'll also watch the Russell because a lot of times there will be rotation out of the NASDAQ into the Russell and back and forth and that sort of thing. But I'm not seeing that connection. I am seeing the NASDAQ and the ES kind of making the same opening pattern, and then the VIX moving, and the VIX should have a reverse correlation. The VIX making the opposite move down, which kind of supports a little short, at least very short-term scalp move up here. And there it is. Just a quick little scalp.
Thank you. A little bit of action for us. I appreciate it, Barbie. I asked the chat for real questions, and I got a slew of them. We'll cover a couple. 2% rule we'll talk about in a little bit here. Another one, we talked about this one yesterday a little bit, but time frames. Could you each talk a little bit about I guess, Barbie, I'll ask you to talk about time frames that you like. And Forrest, one for you out of the chat is going to be what journaling tools you use.
Cool.
So I'll go ahead and start with time frame, and I really do kind of use them all. So everyone asks me what's my favorite, what's the best, and that depends on what I'm doing, because what I am always saying is it's whatever I can use to see what I'm looking at. So for an opening trade like this, I like to watch the 5-minute because that's going to give me the quickest kind of reaction to these really small levels that I have in here. And these are just little quant levels, so they're automatically calculated. But these little thin ones are just little intraday levels. So if I'm looking at a really small little intraday opening move, it's going to be something like this where it's on the 5-minute. The 1 minute to me is too noisy, and that's when I get FOMO and shaken out and all of that sort of thing. So I would prefer to take a trade on the 5-minute as the fastest time frame. Because I get asked a lot, how do I hold trades longer? And honestly, I've been kind of bad about scalping lately. But I mean, if we get a 20-point move in 30 seconds, I'm going to take it on ES, But the way that I hold trades longer is not taking them on the 1 minute. It's taking them on the 5 or the 15. But honestly, the time frame, so when I'm doing my analysis, and I will go out to the monthly sometimes, but every week, let me fix this chart. Every week, I at least start on the weekly. So this is the ES weekly, and it'll be the same whether you're trading NASDAQ or Apple or anything else. You always want to start on the macro chart so you can get that perspective. So when traders are always talking about zooming out and looking left and getting context or getting perspective, like this is the sort of thing, because there's just so many observations you can make on these higher time frame charts. Like for one thing, the volatility. So just instantly we can see that these candles, we don't even have to measure them, but I do like to measure these to kind of see how much bigger they are in relation. These candles are massive compared to these previous candles. So I know that these weeks are a lot more volatile than usual. So that'll help give me perspective. I can't enter the market with a really tight stop and expect success when we're having something like this. And the daily is the one that, if I don't start with the weekly, I look at the daily every single day. And I actually keep it open while I'm day trading, because this one too, I can still get the same context, like how big these ranges are. This was a record day. So it's really great to keep in context, like this was a record day. So these look tiny right now, but this was a record day. So I can kind of keep that in mind. But once I start getting down to the daily and the hourly charts, I'm looking to see kind of what patterns could fill out here. And these are ATR bands. So this isn't anything too fancy. These are all free indicators. I've got EMAs and ATR bands just to kind of help put things into perspective. But these are Keltner channels. But having the daily chart, I can help kind of, I can see what patterns can kind of potentially form here. And then I can see what those levels would be if these patterns do form. And then I have a swing trade, but I also have some context to take my day trades in. So if I'm looking, I don't see a lot setting up right now because we're kind of in the middle of this pattern. But if we were towards the edge of it and I wanted to place a bet that we're going to continue filling out this bull flag, or that this bull flag is going to fail, I could place a swing trade on that, but I could also place my day trades in that context. So I would be looking for a short, because my shorts would be supported if I was looking for a failure out of here. Or if I'm looking to break out the top, my bullish trades intraday would be supported by that more macro move. So that's why the daily is really always important for me to look at. And then once I have that broader context from the weekly or the daily, then I'll start moving down. The 4 hour I really like a lot. And this chart's really messy. So let me take off all my notes here, because even this, like, then you can really see in context where we are with these. This is where the major levels really start to appear here. We can see wick, candle body, a whole bunch of support here. It just is really obvious. And I think people get hung up on support and resistance a lot because they're looking on these really small time frames. And if you zoom out, it's a lot easier, because you can take this level from the 4 hour and pull it down to the 5 minute or the 15 minute. And it's going to be a really powerful level on that chart because you got it from a higher time frame. So I really do love the higher time frame. So even if I'm taking a day trade or a scalp off of the 5 minute or the 15 minute, I'm always using these larger charts in context, because I can't see this gap on a 5 minute chart, but I can see it on an hourly market and then be aware of those levels when I come down into a 5 minute.
Awesome. And Forrest, will you talk about journaling for a quick second?
Sure. Yeah. So I could pull it up if you want to, but I can just talk about it. I use Notion today. So I used to handwrite everything on my iPad I have right here. I think automated tools are great, right? So for performance tracking, if you want to know what hour of the day you're most profitable, least profitable, how many trades you're taking in a day, what your average, RR, profit factor, automated tools are great for that. If you want to know why you took a trade, you need to actually journal, right? So you need to sit down, pen in hand or ready to type, and say, this is what I was thinking at the time. Was I chasing? Did I just lose a trade and I was revenge trading? Did I get into a trade because Forrest said he was in a trade? Did I get out of a trade because, these are all the things that you need to actually look back on, because what the automated tools lack is the context, right? You just end up with a number, and what you want to do is replicate all the good numbers. So if you have an outsized day, let's say 3 days in a row, you're crushing it, right? And then you actually you're just looking at the numbers and you can't really figure out why. And then it's like, oh, maybe there was something special happening that week in the market, or you woke up earlier, you went to bed earlier, right? You called your mom, whatever it was that made those sessions special, you want to replicate that, right? So you really, 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 because trading is all about execution, it's not just about knowing stuff. You have to actually apply it. You need to figure out what you were thinking at the time. And so I'm all about doing the tedious stuff in trading. So handwriting your notes, however long it takes, it will always pay dividends. And I use Notion today, but it doesn't really matter, what you use. I have a free Notion template if you want to check it out, wherever my links are. I'm sure you guys are resourceful, you'll find them. But it doesn't matter what you use.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Barbie. I appreciate it, Forrest. You guys, I asked a question to the chat if we should do some free accounts as a part of our inaugural stream today. It seemed like a mixed response. Some people said, yes, it's a good idea to do free accounts. A couple of people said, no, it's not a great idea to do free accounts. So we'll have to TBD. I will advise that if we were to do a couple free accounts in a little bit here, you do need to be subscribed to our YouTube channel to be eligible to the free accounts. And again, if that's interesting, let us know. Maybe we'll do some free resets too, TBD. But without further ado, before we get to that piece of our programming, I would like to do something that I think is very well anticipated. We've heard a lot of feedback on YouTube, a lot of feedback on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. Do you like X or do you like Twitter better? I can't decide which name I prefer. But we want to talk to the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, the pioneer, the engineer, the CEO of MyFundedFutures, Mr. Matthew Leach, joining our stream on the inaugural day. Welcome, Matt.
Welcome. Yeah, nice to be here. Appreciate it.
All right. Matt, I'm going to start you off with the question. So this is obviously the first big day that we're doing this stream. You created MyFundedFutures for a reason, have built the firm to be such a force in the space. Why TV? What can we do for our folks out there?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest aspects of trading in general is that it's very siloed, segmented. People are trading by themselves. They feel like they're kind of soloed in their profession, right? And I think one thing that some other companies are doing and that we're trying to do is create a sense of community, and part of that is the TV aspect. So getting to know the personalities that are involved in the company they work with, the traders that use us, learning more about some of the things that they can anticipate and look forward to. So I think a lot of it has to do with the community feel, right? So you're not just trading alone.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know that we have a couple communities. We have this YouTube community, which again, everyone, we will be here live from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern to start. It might get a little longer preview there, but from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We also have our X community, and we have our Discord community. Links are all in the YouTube. So if you're not a part of those, make sure you go and check them out. Just like you need to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. But I guess, Matt, what do you think so far? It's the first day. You've got Forrest here. You have Barbie here. How are we doing?
Awesome. Honestly, it's a huge undertaking. I think when we started out the idea of doing something like this, we thought it would be just putting a chart on the screen and getting to it. So it's impressive to see what's come so far, and I'm looking forward to it. I think you guys envision something that's more consistent. So 6 to 7 hours a day, potentially more, doing different segments, bringing on different guests. So it's exciting to see it kick off finally, and looking forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Awesome. I just put a note into the YouTube chat asking for questions out of the chat. It seems like the majority of the questions that we've been getting throughout the day today are if we're going to do more free resets. We're not looking for those types of questions. We hear you loud and clear. The chat's moving quick, but I'm reading all of them. But another one, I guess, that I'll ask, and then I'll kick it over to Forrest and Barbie, and we'll get some screen shares going again. But I see is what was the inspiration for starting MyFundedFutures?
Well, it was easy for me specifically because we had the FX side, right? We saw a huge market opportunity. We saw some of the big brokerage firms getting into futures that were traditionally options, stocks, trading firms like Robinhood, Webull, and others. And for us, we saw the growth of the futures industry specifically. And as I think the first FX firm or CFD firm to kind of pivot and push into futures pretty aggressively, it put us in a nice position. But for me, it was an untapped market for asset class that we had already had an audience for, right? And futures specifically being in the US, it's I think 65 to 70% of our audience is in the US. So it kind of made sense for us to try to pivot to that. I know people talk a lot about, are you ever going to get into crypto or stocks or options? And for now, I think just the structure of the business and the greater environment of prop trading in general will probably not venture into those, but there are people that will. So for now.
All right. Little forward-looking commentary there. We appreciate it. Forrest and Barbie, I'm going to kick it to you in a second to ask Matt a question while we're on here. But ahead of that, I see a question that I really like in the chat. Any type of content that you consume, Matt, that you think is especially helpful or interesting to you, whether it's books or social media or websites that you like?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm a big fan of Twitter. I think that's where most people know me from. But yeah, I think consuming information is good, but making sure that you take it with a grain of context. So I love to read the articles, the news events, the kind of the forward-looking things for what companies are looking at. Not necessarily prop trading firms, but where AI is going, where blockchain is going, because it does help you as a company or as an owner figure out where you position your business. Is that something we should create? So a lot of our users, for example, are looking at news sites, whether it's Forex Factory or Benzinga or any number of these different companies, and how can we incorporate that into our environment so that our users we have a product or something that's free for them to use. So I, in terms of books, I wish I read more. I need more time to do that, but I love to read about what companies are doing out there that our customers are actively trading. So yeah, that's primarily it.
Awesome. And in terms of books, if anybody needs one, I like to read fantasy novels. So if you're into like dragons or magic, you can find me on Twitter. I can give you a couple recommendations. Barbie, I'll kick it over to you.
One question I want to address real quick, because I see people ask about all the time, like what sets MyFundedFutures apart and kind of the broader scope of the industry. And to be honest, the industry is changing a bit because so many companies are getting into it. It's becoming, I would say, more of a commodity. Kind of the barrier to entry is a little bit lower than it used to be. So for us, it's not just about delivering a product that people like. So the evaluation rule sets, the ability to get payouts funded, etc. But it's creating an ecosystem for us. So we're really pushing somewhat like some of our competitors is trying to vertically integrate as much as we can so that we can own the entire process at MyFundedFutures. So that would be your trading platform, that would be your brokerage, that would be your evaluation services, that could be your journaling, that could be your news sources. So I think that's kind of our biggest initiative here is trying to make sure we provide value outside of just the evaluation programs. I could say we have the best customer service, the fastest payouts, I could go on and on about what we think that we have, but it ultimately
and the most innovative plans. Just I'll add that one too. Customer service, fast payout, innovative plans. But keep going.
Yeah, it comes down to what you guys perceive. I think we have some of the fastest payouts based on just customer feedback, but it really comes down to what our customers think of it. So the future of MyFundedFutures, I can go on and on about where we're kind of positioning ourselves, but ultimately it comes down to kind of providing the value life cycle of a trader, from the inception of an idea to the execution to the post execution kind of analysis and reflection is kind of where we want to position ourselves so that you can stay within the MyFundedFutures ecosystem from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm. And I'll read one out of the chat here from Mason. They have the fastest payouts. They hit my bank account so damn fast, it's fire. All right. So as you mentioned, it's what the users perceive that matters. So I see another one. Support is also A+. And it's great to just hear you talk about that. What we think doesn't matter, but it's what the users think.
Right. And I have to remind myself that all the time. What my perception of the industry is only dictated by the overall perception of the industry. So I have to keep that in mind when kind of operating the business, which it is always different.
I relate to that very heavily just because I'm the COO of this company and it's very competitive and people like, what's the difference? And I always just tell people, like, I'm the difference. We're the difference. We're just better. It's quality of service. It's how you feel. It's the vibe. It's, you're not going to remember the money you spent 2 weeks from now. You're going to remember, the conversations we had, the laughs, how you felt, right? It's ultimately going to bring people back. And so I think in the prop firm space, like literally anybody can start a prop firm. We'll probably see 50 more.
That's part of the problem right now. So
yeah. And, it's like, do you want to do business with anybody? Or do you want to do business with people that you like?
And I can't really say too many bad things about new prop firms because we were once a very new organization, and I went through some of the same growing pains 3.5 years ago with the FX side of perceptions and like, why would I trust you, that kind of thing. So it makes sense. The industry will continue to grow. Whenever there's opportunity in business, people will flock to it. Companies, businesses, people, traders, vendors, whatever you call it. But it's about how you build the company, I think, that matters. So if you go,
that's kind of related to my question. So can I ask? I want to phrase this a certain way. So in general, I think the kind of thing that everyone wants to know is what sets MyFundedFutures apart, which is a nice big general question. But I think that when we're talking about the prop firm space and all of the new prop firms, there's a lot of predatory prop firms out there. So how can everyone make sure that your business plan is not predatory? And I think that goes to how you set up a lot of your rules and that kind of thing. But I want to kind of know how traders how they can have a good level of trust, because that's what I think, from the perspective of the trader, that's what we need.
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. And And it's like I talked about just a minute ago. I can say all the things that people want to hear, but in reality, it comes down to how we execute. So making sure that people have all the information that they need ahead of time, so that there's nothing hidden on the back end. Making sure that payouts are processed timely, and that there's no concerns for worries about being denied or anything like that. So it's more about the execution. Trust is built over years. Service is built over years. It can be lost pretty quickly. So making sure that we are being experts in the execution of the life cycle of your the customer journey, so that when someone comes in, they know exactly what they're buying, they know exactly what to expect, and they're happy when they leave. So it's about building that in a repetitive fashion at scale that creates that trust and that value, so that you ask someone else that's traded with us, they say, great, I have no issues, no concerns. It's awesome. So new firms will struggle because of that. They'll have to build an audience. They'll have to continue to chip away at that trust. And that's the hardest part, because as a new owner in a business, you want it to grow as fast as you possibly can. The important thing for the industry is not to undercut your business model itself in order to sacrifice your growth. And I think that's where we've succeeded quite well, is making the appropriate changes, making the appropriate things available to customers, so that we can succeed in the long term.
Well, see, that's what I think it is. And I think this is a lesson whenever you're thinking long term. So this goes for traders too. This is for business and for traders. When you're thinking long term, you end up with a lot more success in the short term and the long term. And I think a lot of these prop firms are just really thinking of the short term. And that's why we'll see like all these surprise flash sales all the time and things. And it's just, they're trying to get something taken care of that weekend, and they're not thinking about the big picture long term. And that's what I'm always trying to do too, because I think that's where my success as a trader is going to come from. And so that's what I would hope to find in a company that I want to work with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Makes sense. Yeah, there's lots of good questions here in the chat. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So I've already posted about this before, and I think it's something we've been working on. But we are releasing a trading platform. So Trade Sentry is the name of it. It is going to be accessible through DXFeed. So if you're a DXFeed customer, you purchase the account with us, you'll be able to trade on Trade Sentry. The reason for it is like I mentioned before, is creating that vertical integration in the business, but also to make it customizable. So a lot of the things that traders are looking for in lockouts and journaling and integrations with third-party tools are not something we can necessarily do with vendors that we currently work with. So it's something that we wanted to bring in-house to create a product that we can customize to the trader's need. And to ultimately make it something that's ours. So a lot of people ask, well, when are we going to bring these other platforms in? And I think right now our focus is on our own.
That's great. And I may be pushing for more than you want to give, but could you give us a little bit of a tease as to something you're most excited about with regard to the new platform?
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of a hybrid in between a kind of a charting and analytics platform and a trading platform, in the sense that it's going to have a community aspect. Like I said before, community is one of the biggest things that trading lacks. So we've got a roadmap for features that we'll have down the road, but upon the launch, you'll be able to create kind of this indicator kind of marketplace or indicator sharing, so that you can use public indicators that other people have created. You can use your own indicators. You can basically, some people who sell indicators, or if they offer them for free or it's part of a course, you'll be able to use that in your trading, similar to how a trading view would work. But you'll also have the trading aspects like a DOM, time and sales, copy trading, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a hybrid approach. To me, is kind of the best of both worlds, where you can create the community, you can create the charting people who just want to look at stocks and analytics and charting data, and then you can also execute all of your trades.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I see some positive commentary out of the chat. And, as I've been reading the flow, folks asking about some of those features, and it seems like we're going to nail it.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. We'll obviously, like many companies that launch some new product, we'll be looking for feedback and to hopefully make some changes according to what you guys are looking for, because that's the most important.
Yeah, that's a great question. If there's anything that you all would love to see out of that platform, drop it in the chat. And Forrest, I'm going to go over to you. Any questions that you have for Matt, or anything that you'd love to chat about while we have him on stream?
I do. So this is something, I have a podcast, and we're not on my podcast, but this is a question I love to ask people. What are you most afraid of, Matt?
What am I most afraid of? That is an
Fighters.
interesting question, and not something I think about too much. But in general, afraid of in terms of in the context of MyFundedFutures, I think it's what the future holds, and I think a lot of us can understand that. A lot of prop firm owners, a lot of traders, it's like, where is the industry going? And I can only make assumptions and guesses, and I can only help us prepare for the future. But I would say one of my biggest fears in general is like, what's going to happen to the industry in 5 years? Where are we going to position ourselves? Will we be a market leader? Will we be known as kind of the household brand name? So it's something that I probably should worry less about, but it's what I have to do to kind of position ourselves for success in the future.
It is changing quickly, though. I mean, all industries are, but certainly finance and online trading for sure. I think that's valid. But I think that the winner, whoever comes out on top, is going to be the people who are most responsive to the community in general, and just understanding. As traders, we always have to adapt, and so the businesses need to adapt too. So anyone who's working with traders will need to be able to adapt. And how do you adapt if you're not in a community knowing what traders need?
Right.
So,
yeah, the futures trading in general is just skyrocketing. The data shows that it's just insane growth.
I'm one of those who joined in the past 5 years. So
yeah, and even the last couple of years, because of the Webull and the Robinhoods and the Tasties and all of the retail trading platforms and providers are either getting into futures or have gotten into futures, and it creates an easier path to trading. Whereas options, I'm sure Robinhood was primarily an options and stock trade platform, brokerage.
Well, the barrier to entry is so low. So I started trading options. So my main goal was to get that account up to 25,000 and over so I could day trade with it. You don't need that with futures, especially when you're dealing with the discount brokerages and things, and the brokerages that you guys are working with, where you get these amazing rates to trade futures, and you don't have to have massive amounts of money to start, which has been the big barrier to entry to day trading historically, is having to have massive accounts without access to all this leverage. And now we have it just from our little laptop or our phone. It's crazy.
Yep. It's more accessible than ever, which is a great value add, especially for prop trading. And I think what prop trading is doing is introducing a lot of people from the options, stock, Forex world that wouldn't necessarily have considered futures, and introducing them to what futures are and is, and then they potentially might open a live account with an FCN directly and trade. So I think props are introducing traders at massive scale into what futures trading is.
I didn't start with props, but I kind of made my own prop, in that the advice that I had gotten was to just start a really small futures account. And so I literally started with a $2,000 futures account, because that was kind of my risk, my complete risk. And so that's when I finally started understanding how prop firms work. I was like, oh, they're kind of like the little starter account that I started myself. It's just, instead of, the risk is different because I'm paying for a subscription instead of using my own funds up front. So
this is very old man of me, but people have no idea how good they have it now. It used to be so much harder to start. The fact that you could just trade on your phone, like you could just start trading without waiting days for paperwork and like for an application. Like you can just sign up and start trading on your phone. You can be traveling and trade.
That was something I kind of forgot about. That when I started trading, I had to wait for funds. I mean, the whole thing, it took like 2 weeks to set up. And then I still didn't have enough funds to really trade with.
Yeah, like there's settlements going to like T0, or like right now, like it's way different, which is good. So like there's that accelerated.
Futures was not available to me when I first signed up for a brokerage account, which is why I really didn't start day trading to begin with. I had a small account, so I was looking. The only thing I could do with it was buy and hold. And even that was kind of like, it was $10 each way and took a long time. At least I didn't have to call the broker. But I think if I was placing futures trades, I would have had to call the broker. So, I mean, this is amazing that really anybody has access to this. It's also kind of scary, but it is amazing that anyone who is willing to learn and put in the work can really do this.
Yeah. And I'll make this note too, because I come from a primarily stock and options background and spend a lot of time talking to the like online retail brokerages. And all of you out here who are watching now and are trading with MyFundedFutures, you're ahead of the curve. The big wave that we've seen is the early adopters, going from stock and options, as everybody mentioned, into the futures market and realizing the benefits and some of the sophistication that's required to go into the futures market. So if you are out here and you are watching, pat yourself on the back because you are an early adopter and you're ahead of the curve of a trend that I think we're going to see move pretty significantly in this direction over the next several years. Matt, I'm going to ask you to talk to us about the two-step eval to live plan in a second here. But any final thoughts that you have before that, or any topics we should cover?
Checking the chat for any questions in general.
I think everyone wants copy trading. That's what I keep seeing.
Copy trading, yeah, absolutely, for Trade Century, yes. Yeah, I mean, no, I guess I'll talk just briefly about the future. And like I did before, it's all about the industry and positioning yourselves within the industry. So right now we're seeing a lot of new firms pop up. And when we first launched MyFundedFutures, it was, and for all intents and purposes, a battle day in and day out, right? We had to figure out how to do things although we had a prior firm and experience in it, it's extremely different. And so building out the risk systems, the analytics platforms internally, the communication, even the email solutions to send out things. So it was a battle, and it still is every day. And I love it, but maybe some of my team will say differently. But what we're doing right now is kind of planning for the future, not just the next 3 to 6 months, the next 3 years, 5 years. What will we need to do in order to be successful against all hurdles that we might overcome? Competition, regulations, data providers, platforms, social media requirements. There's so many things that you have to consider. And so right now we're going through the main planning phase of what does the next 5 years look like for MyFundedFutures? And we're taking a lot of the feedback of our users into consideration in that, because if we take too much of our own kind of planning and don't consider what the customer is going to want in 5 years and only consider where we position ourselves relative to our competitors, it's not going to work out well. So yeah, right now we're doing the planning, but I have a lot to look forward to, and I think everyone in our community has a lot to look forward to as well.
Ooh. Can we get a W in the chat for Mr. Matt Leach joining us? W's in the chat. Yeah, thanks. I feel like I'm on like a gaming stream. But anywho, I'm going to be really blunt with all of you watching. And I'm going to say there will be free accounts right around the corner. You need to be subscribed to the YouTube channel to be eligible for those free accounts. So if you haven't yet, please do so. And Matt, will you tell us a little bit about the two-step eval to live plan, please?
Of course. So the eval to live plans are obviously there's competitors that offer a similar product. So what we wanted to do is create something that was the fastest way to get to live funding. And so live funding for us is a real cash brokerage account. You're trading with real money. It's in real executions. Everything is 100% real. So the eval to live is the fastest way you can get to a live account. So it's 5 days essentially of trading. If you meet the requirements, 5 days, you get allocated a live capital allocation. So what comes with that is you get to withdraw every single day. That's the power of the ability to do that, I think is underlooked by some. And then some traders, that's like the mecca of what I am aspiring to be. So you can trade the first day. After rollover, you can request a payout. Next 24 hours, you can request another payout. Next 24 hours, request another payout, and so forth. It also is our attempt to try and reward live trading as best we can. Right now, we're still going through the data and the analytics to try to figure out how do we encourage people to trade as best they can in the E2L kind of programs. and how can we reward them for their positive trading? Because in the end, if we are able to create kind of this pool of extremely good traders that are trading the live capital, we're able to take the split, then that would be an amazing thing for the eval live programs. So it's underrated, I think, but it's something that I think will grow in popularity once people realize what it truly is. It's a lot less restrictions as well, because you're going straight to live.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think it speaks to some of the comments that you gave earlier, like the forward-looking insights you gave us on the industry and the direction that MyFundedFutures is moving and why it's moving that direction and what you do for the community. Matt, could we give away a couple accounts? Would that be okay?
Yep, go for it. I think
Do
I think people are here for that. So I don't know if they even care about seeing me. They just want the yeah.
Are you sure? Before we give a code, are you sure we can do it?
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it. Well, we plan to do this pretty frequently. I probably won't be on every day, but I think it's a valued aspect of the community here to be able to speak to you guys directly. So I'm looking forward to being on here regularly.
All right. Code is on the screen. This is the big one. Free 2-step. That's FREE, the number 2 step. STEP. 300 accounts to celebrate our inaugural stream here. I see more W's coming in the chat. This is for the 2-step eval to live plan. That's the plan that Matt just gave us the breakdown on. Created, encouraged to design some of these good trading habits for you. Again, code is on the screen. Free 2-step. Go ahead and get them. You've got to be subscribed to the YouTube channel to be eligible. I see the code flowing in the chat now. Go ahead, grab those accounts, and I'll tease this too. We may have one more free reset giveaway later today.
Uh-oh.
Stay tuned.
Surprise.
We might have one more.
A surprise.
All right, we're coming into the last 15 minutes of our show. Both Forrest and Barbie like to look for the 10 a.m. Time period to start taking trades, look at what the market's doing, get their bias on the day. So we're going to take a look at some setups. If you have specific levels that you're looking at, you've got symbols that you're looking at, throw them in the chat. The chat is so freaking fast, and I love it that it's so fast, but I read every single comment.
Speed reader.
I'm here not as the CEO of the firm, not as your expert trader, but I'm here as your host. So I am the voice of the chat. You tell me you want resets, I get you resets. Okay. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to being on here as much as I'm able to. Good luck with the stream.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Forrest, your chart is on the screen. It's been about half an hour, 40 minutes since we last took a look at how we're moving today. Give us the breakdown. Catch us up.
Let me break this down for all you folks out there. I don't have the chat open, by the way, so shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm sure it's a mixed bag of positivity and craziness. So high volume down candle right here. The 9 o'clock candle closed at 10 on the 1 hour. We go to the 2 hour, which is the first magic time frame for me. Another high volume down candle. Volume's going to load in shortly, I'm sure. Another high volume down candle. And then if we look at the 4 hour, we kind of have this like dejected or broken, almost bear flag thing. But we have some consolidation bar coding on the 4 hour. We have another high volume down candle here as well. So I am expecting or really looking for us to break this low. We are building value here. If we look at our session VP for all of my volume profile traders, people who like to trade the edges of the volume profile, the developing volume profile is critically important. This is taking forever to load. So we are building value lower. And so in a trending environment, you do want to see value get built at the edges. Otherwise, what we'd expect is like a fast bottom wick to form, immediate rejection, and it will range back higher. It's only 10:15. So in the next 30 minutes or so is really where I would expect this next leg to form. The other thing that we could see would be like a POC, a retest of the POC, and then a continuation lower. Not really expecting that with this kind of shape right here, to be honest, but it is plausible. Very, very tight day so far. But that's really what I'm expecting, and that just falls into, again, what I was looking at on the weekly. So very different, higher time frame than the 1 hour or the 4 hour. But on the weekly, right, we rejected this huge shelf above, and we're coming down. You see I have this boxed out kind of landing zone down here of kind of what I'm looking for, just on the macro, right? Whether it happens today, tomorrow, or Monday, doesn't really matter to me. That's kind of my expectation until proven otherwise. And we'll see. We will see what happens. That's what I'm thinking. Those are my thoughts.
All right, Barbie, your turn.
Well, I like that 4 hour pattern that Forrest is watching on NASDAQ. We have the same kind of pattern on ES, so I'm watching that. So we do have a 4 hour level that's kind of looking like it might get broken, kind of right where we are. I think that's what I also have this 40 level marked down here, but it's kind of this range from 40 up to 50 where we are right now. I did kind of scalp that little thing that I had mentioned earlier, and then I also ended up taking a scalp while we were talking. I'd kind of gotten quiet there for a second. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I was watching this orb breakout, and my box didn't draw. Let me try it again. I was watching this little orb breakout right here, and just based on the fact that it was also lining up with this support or this resistance level. No, it's a support level. The support level from the overnight low. This was the 40 level was actually the overnight low that we pulled. So we're breaking this 4 hour support at the overnight low with the 15-minute opening range breakout. So I did scalp that just a little bit ago. I'm looking to kind of see if we continue with this kind of walk down pattern that we have right now. And if we do, that's feeding into my bearish plan for the day, which would have us hitting around the ES 5330 level. And if that manages to break, then we could potentially be looking all the way down to 5300. The 5300 level has a lot of support because that's when we're getting into the daily support. So that would be, we would need something pretty extreme, I think, to get through here. Powell would have to give us some pretty bad news. Otherwise, this could be a potential spot for ES to bounce, at least in the short term.
And he's talking at what, 1 o'clock today? 2 o'clock?
I think it's 1:30.
Yeah, that's an important thing you brought up there. So like, I do expect us to cool off very heavily into lunchtime.
Yeah, 1:30 Eastern, Powell's coming on.
Yeah, so we'll see. Either, well, I will say this, because we have seen this in this current kind of tariff talk environment. An hour prior, we have seen some pretty strong moves. That is going to be exactly at noon today. So honestly, I don't know. Regardless of the timing, my expectation doesn't really change, but we could see some fast candles.
I'm going to get out of the way for when Powell comes on. Personally, I'm going to get my trades out of the way. I'm going to close, be out of the way. But then I'm going to watch and see if we end up hitting these levels. And I'll take the orb back off there since we're not talking about that anymore. But that would be especially on my charts. I mark the pink ones as major levels and then the purple ones as more minor intraday levels that I'm watching. So with Powell, I would look to see if he brings us to a major pink level that I've pulled off at least the hourly chart, because then I can go down into a smaller price, a smaller time frame, and look for little price action patterns that I can use for an entry down there for a day trade. But on the macro charts, we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. So like if I go back out to the daily and fix it real quick, this is that consolidation pattern that we either have to break out of the top or the bottom. Otherwise, we're in the middle of it. So we are in a waiting pattern on the macro charts yet.
Agreed. Yeah, it's adding some alerts on the VIX here.
Yeah, let's take a look at VIX in a second. We looked at VIX Monday, Tuesday. We haven't looked at VIX yet today. But before that, Barbie, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Should we do some more free resets tomorrow?
I definitely think so, because we want everyone to be able to trade and try out the products today. So
should we do some more free resets today as well?
Why not? Why would you not?
All right, just asking.
My vote is yes. Always yes.
Just buying for some time to pull up VIX.
Help the people. Give the people what they want.
This is a big day. This is the big inaugural stream. We've got to get everyone excited, and I think the best way to get excited is to get them trading with us. So.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Forrest, over to you, sir. Let's talk VIX for the first time of the day.
Cool. Yeah. So the VIX. Let's just actually go to the daily.
And what chart are you looking at? This is the 1 hour.
On the daily now. Yeah.
Okay.
So VIX daily. Few things here. The overall level of the VIX, right? So ignore kind of the patterns and things like that. We're at 31.14. So the VIX is elevated. We're still in a very volatile environment, which you might not figure with today's kind of price action, but this is an elevated VIX. If we go lower, and we can kind of see what's happening with the candles here. I set 2 alerts based off of this previous 1 hour candle. So I have an alert at the low and an alert at the high. And really, I just want to be notified when this thing is about to either break lower, right, which would have confluence with the market moving higher, or if we break higher, right, it's probably going to run to this other level at 33.64, honestly. But if we crack this, I just want to be notified because the market's probably going to make an energetic move to the downside. So watching this right now, those are the major kind of, I want to see if we're going to break out of this chop with these alerts. And then really the levels that I really care about on the VIX, honestly, is where we gapped. So you see there's this gap in the VIX here. Significant changes, like fast changes in the VIX. Obviously, there's these big changes just even on the hourly. But we want to see how we retest this gap here at 35.21, or if we race through it. And then same below here, right? There's a huge amount of downside available on the VIX here. More to where it has been ranging historically, so in these ranges down in the 20s. So if the VIX races down to 20, I mean, that's going to really be confluence with a huge up move in the market. I'm not expecting that today, obviously, but that's really how I'm thinking about the VIX. But in terms of RTH right now, these are the 2 levels that I care about. Is really just how are we going to play around this previous 1 hour candle, because with 31 minutes. With 46 minutes left, that's going to bring us to 11, and we'll be 2 hours out from JPOW. So, this will probably be the last. Well, it's going to be the last hour of the day that I really care about, anyways.
I'm really interested to see if JPOW sets us up for something better on the macro chart. If he can get us to the edge of that kind of. Really the daily range is what I'm mostly interested in. But if you can get us to closer to a level or the edge of these ranges, then it's going to be a lot easier to put a trade on for me.
Definitely. Yeah, if we pop over to NQ, let's go to the lowers real quick, go to the 1 hour. You can see that we rejected this low here. We've retested this 18,000. Let's just call it 511. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times we've tested this level, and it has not cracked it. So really curious to see what they're going to do here. And what this tells me is they're probably, they're just running the chop play, right? They're just chopping us up, going to lunch before JPOW, and we'll probably see that move around the time that he talks, or we might see a 12 o'clock move like I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
And I was kind of also watching the 30 level on VIX also. When you had your daily pulled up, you could kind of really easily see that that's where all these kind of wicks are coming up to. It's right below the 30 level, but I've been kind of having that in my head, is that 30 level keeps kind of being an important level. That we're spiking over 30 and fading under 30 recently.
Indeed, yeah. Yep. But yeah, my plan from here is honestly just watch. I'm going to not be
some days are better for putting on trades than others, and that's just facts, and that's how it works. But we do have at least some nice big ranges to try to scout. But yeah, the easier trades are probably going to be after we get Powell out of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And what we could see is after he talks, once that settles, so 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. are really when I look to take trades every day. So I'll definitely be looking at the market at 2 for my next.
So Forrest, are you saying between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. or at those 2 specific times?
At those 2 specific intervals.
Okay.
Is when I like to take my trades. So
if you get a 4 hour?
Yeah, we get a 4 hour candle and a 2 hour candle.
Okay.
And I like to trade those time frames. In lower VIX's environments, I'll trade, lower time frames. But and with the VIX is elevated as it is, like I've caught a few like 500 plus point trades. I hit 1,000 pointer the other day. Like I'm totally fine with just waiting for, these few setups and not doing anything else. It pays, as they say. So I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for the trade to present itself, and once I have pocket aces, we'll take another trade.
All right, and I'll ask this question to the chat: what what candles are you looking at? What time periods do you look at? Is there anything that's critically important for you? You're looking at the 5 minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, daily. I know that we all look at everything a little bit, but what is mission critical to your trading plan? All right. Any final thoughts from either of you before we get to our resets?
I'm really excited to get to the codes. But I think we have kind of a pretty good plan to just kind of watch these ranges and kind of see what happens with POW later. And hopefully we can get some new traders on with MyFundedFutures today so that we can keep the stream going and make it even bigger as we go along. So
most def.
We're getting a lot of results. Some of these are watching really small time frames.
Yeah, 15 seconds I'm seeing a lot.
15
Oh,
seconds.
wild.
Yeah.
You guys can't form a thought in 15 seconds. There's no way.
I can't. Y'all are making it hard.
Time frame.
I like the 42-minute candle. That's a good one.
42 minute?
Yeah,
fun fact about trading views, you can do like any time frame. So I could trade the 11 minute. I could trade the 7 minute. Truly whatever you want. Choose your time frame.
Well, all right, folks. Our show is coming to an end. Our inaugural day. Barbie, how can folks stay in touch with you?
I'm mostly on YouTube. You can find me at Bull Barbie Trades. I think it's Bull Barbie. Is it Bull Barbie Trading or Bull Barbie? I think it's Bull Barbie Trading. I should know that. Okay, so look me up on YouTube. You can just search for Bull Barbie also. So my YouTube channel is the best place to find me. I'm also on Discord in the Trading Ranch. So it's discord.gg/Trading Ranch. And then I have an Instagram that I kind of post some more daily life stuff, and that's Bull-Barbie on Instagram. So those are the main ways to connect with me outside of the stream. But what about you, Forrest?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, Trading with Forrest, Instagram, Forrest_the_investor. And if you're in Miami, you can see me rolling around in my purple Z06, the top down, usually every day.
Great. All right, folks. We are here from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern every single day, Monday through Friday. Again, we created this show not only to be entertaining, not only to engage you, not only to form a community, but ultimately to make you a better trader. We worked hard to recruit this expert cast of traders that you see on with us today. We'll have special guests. We'll talk charts. We'll talk setups. We'll talk whatever it is, whatever you tell us you need to talk about in order to become a better trader. We are here for it. So if you have not hit subscribe yet, hit the subscribe button. We will be back at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, Thursday. And before we go, I promised one more free reset. The code is about to appear on the screen. 50 of you, one-time use, free reset, code LTSBNPT. Let's see if I can do this at the phonetic alphabet in one take. Lima, Tango, Sandy, Bravo, November, Papa Tango. Boom. That is the code. I had to learn that at an early job because that's how we communicated stock symbols. But code is on the screen for your free resets. Tomorrow we'll be back with ideas. We'll be back with some education. And we will certainly be back with free resets by popular demand. So I will see you all tomorrow. Happy trading.
Have a good one.